The idea of creating social businesses with my 8th graders really excited me and still does. Once I read about Muhammad Yunus and the Grameen Bank, I was hooked on this idea of microfinancing and creating businesses that set out to maximize social good rather than monetary profit. But that seed of an idea that came from reading and initial research became this huge and at sometimes quite overwhelming endeavor. My initial question was, what happens when social entrepreneurship and the new capitalism become an integral part of my classroom curriculum? I wanted the answer to the question to be an educational, inspiring, empowering, engaging, growing experience for all of my students. That's what I wanted to happen. And I can honestly say that as a teacher and a grad student, I had an educational, inspiring, empowering, engaging, growing experience this year. I grew as a teacher and a learner, and I listened closely to the reflections and thoughts of my students in relation to the social business curriculum I thought that I was designing for them, but that I quickly realized we were designing together. Throughout this process, I wondered if my students were getting as much out of our work together as I was. Now I wonder, how can I make the experience better for students next year? My data collection methods evolved throughout this project. Originally, I thought I would look most closely at how my students defined success before the project began versus after their participation in the social business project. My assumption that they would have a profit-driven definition of success was definitely a misconception. As I read the well-rounded definitions my students had for their own personal success, I realized that I did not need to focus on broadening those definitions. When asked to define success, students wrote answers like, quote, "Success doesn't have to be like rich and stuff. Success is more that you have a happy life and loving family," unquote. Another student wrote that success means, quote, "joy and hard work. To achieve success, you need to work hard and be focused in every way, and of course, when you achieve that success, you feel joy," unquote. Another common theme was expressed concisely by one student who wrote, "Success is, quote, knowing what makes you who you are and demonstrating your identity and passion to others," unquote. Instead of trying to help them with their definitions of success, I realized that I needed to set another goal. Their definitions of success were pretty impressive already. Through this project, I decided I really just wanted to empower my kids. As with any project, I wanted my kids to feel powerful, capable, and brilliant. I wanted them to be as excited as I was about social businesses and working together to change the community and the world for the better. Many of them were interested by the idea of social entrepreneurship and the new capitalism right from the start. I think it helped that I was genuinely excited about the content I was teaching and learning enthusiastically along with them. When it came time for students to build their own social businesses and groups, the struggle began. I wanted my students to be engaged in the project because of their personal connection with the cause they chose. Yet some of my students were not as passionate as others. I wanted them to feel empowered to make positive change, but some of them felt overwhelmed by the challenge. I wanted them to be able to overcome challenges and persevere. But some groups wanted to keep their plans hypothetical instead of making them a reality, because they felt the reality of trying to make that change was too daunting. My students and I worked through these challenges, and in the end, we persevered. Although my main question never changed, my sub-questions became much more interesting to me. One question that really sticks with me after analyzing all of my students' reflections and asking them the same question in video interviews is, what allows some groups to persevere and overcome challenges, while other groups hit roadblocks and cannot seem to get over them? After looking at data and talking with my students, I realized this ability to persevere is tied directly into students' sense of engagement, personal connection to a project, and their belief in themselves and their ability to make change. I wanted all of my students to feel empowered by this project and confident in their ability to make a positive difference. I am not sure if I was successful to the degree I wanted to be. In fact, as a teacher, I find that I am never as successful as I set out to be. I want all of my students to walk away every day feeling loved, fully capable to make positive change, and as Paulo Freire wrote, I want my students, quote, to be able to participate in the transformation of their world, unquote. As I talked to students who felt discouraged at points along their social business journey, I realized that I have a long way to go in inspiring all of my students to believe in their ability to enact meaningful change. Yet, with these continued conversations and celebrations of perseverance with my students, I'm learning more strategies to help promote a sense of empowerment and perseverance. HTMMA Thinks Pink far exceeded my expectations of what was possible for this project, and they worked on their 5K event long after the required project was over. They were motivated by a personal connection to the cause of fighting breast cancer, and they worked tirelessly outside of class. Their success was deeply felt by every group member. They went above and beyond the project expectations. Their sense of engagement and empowerment was not created by our project. It came from within. The opportunity presented by the project just helped to pull it out. How can I get more groups to be that connected and dedicated to their cause, so that my expectations become merely a floor to jump off from, rather than a ceiling? Their success story is one I will keep and share for years to come. It is inspiring, and they were able to articulate what drove them to success and pushed them to make their event plan a reality. It felt strange writing a conclusion section of my thesis. I have, in essence, concluded that there is more work to be done. I am just as excited to answer my action research question next year, the same one, really, with modified sub-questions, as I was to answer it this year. Yet, next year I will be armed with student feedback and strategies that will help the project and all of us feel more successful. So I hope.